to say what consonants are allowed in what order. Like, for example, in English, you can have, I don't know, strengths, but you can't have sense, right? So there's a rule to what order you can put them in, what things are compatible, and so forth. Anyway, we get to skip that. Yay. Oh, wow, I'm under time. Awesome. One last thing for sounds. This is a little bit more complicated. Most people don't really realize it, but there are variations in how you produce sounds. So I'm going to pronounce two, and just try to tell if you can tell the difference. P and P. In this first one, I'm pronouncing it with a little puff of air called aspiration. So P, P, P. In English, there's a rule that if you have P at the beginning of a word or a stressed syllable, it's aspirated. And if not, you don't. So everyone, try this. Get your hand, put it in front of your mouth. Come on, everyone. Yep. Now say spit, spit, and pit. So you'll notice that in pit, you feel a much stronger puff of air against your hand. Try it a couple times. Spit, spit, and pit. And, well, at least for those of you who speak English well. This is not something that non-native speakers pick up very easily, of course. It's usually not taught explicitly, and it makes a big difference in whether someone is perceived as having an accent. So, phonology rules, yes. So we don't have clusters, so the simplest rule is in most languages that have clusters, you have to have voice assimilation. So for example, in English, you could have stop, but you couldn't have stop. And you couldn't have stop, right? The s and the t is compatible. The z and the d is maybe compatible, although maybe not. But they have to be the same voicing. But we don't have that, so let's try. We do have a front vowel, and we do have s. So what I'm going to do is add a palatalization rule. So I'm going to add sh, sh. And the rule is phonological rules. So s goes to sh before, let's say, ah. Ah and e. And u is a back vowel in this case, and so is oi. So what that means is instead of saying, so for example, if you say soy in this language, that's a legal syllable, right? But if you wanted to have the vowel ah, it would actually be pronounced shy. And s and sh are perceived as the same sound. So just like in English, like we just demonstrated, p and p are the same sound, quote unquote. They're just pronounced a little bit differently in different contexts. So that's one rule. Does anyone want to suggest another rule? It's a little bit more complicated, so. No? Okay. I'm going to add another one then. Let's see. We don't have nasalization, vowel lowering. Yeah, we have a couple uvular consonants. We've got k and r. So what we're going to do is have vowel lowering, which means that our I is going to go to, let's say, ah. I'm going to do it. So, I goes to all in front of a k or, oops, or a r. So that's just how you write the rules. So likewise, I can do if you want to be formal about it. So anyway, so in a real language, of course, you'd want to develop this a lot more. Real languages have a huge number of phonological rules, but it's more of an advanced subject, and I just wanted to give you a taste for it. Right. Oh, cool. Still under time. So of course, no language has actually used the IPA as a writing system. It's just used by linguists. Every language has its own writing system. There are a lot of different kinds of writing systems, and we don't have the time to go into it at all. So just take a look at Omnilot. It's an excellent website, and it lists literally probably a couple hundred writing systems of all sorts of different kinds that you probably have never seen before. So what we're going to do is the simplest possible thing, which is a romanization. So we've got these sounds. So we also, in fact, I forgot to mention this. U is a allophone for all. Okay. So let's give each of these letters. So romanization. Oops. For the basic ones, I'm going to keep the same. P, T, K. What letter should we use for R? R. Okay. What about what letter? X. Okay. What letter for J? J. G. Okay. How about H? H. Z. Let's see. V and Z are the same. How about B? Sorry, I mispronounced that. B. Okay. S. I'll just do S. K. How about G? G. Q. Do we? Oh, yes, yes. Okay. Oh, sorry. That's just because I missed it when I was going over this. Yeah. So, G. How about Q? Oi. I'll simplify that and just say it's O, and the Y is implied. U. U. Okay. That's pretty close. A and E. That should be an E. Stop correcting me. Okay, so this is how we would write these sounds. Now, of course, in a real writing system, it's very, very far from one-to-one in almost any language. If you look at English, is kind of a flagrant example of this, where our writing system is really more about depicting the historical context of how words have been derived rather than how they are currently pronounced. For example, you don't say a Knight in shining armor. Sorry, a Knecht in shining armor, I think is the Middle English version. But it's preserved because spelling changes a lot slower than sound changes. But we can think about that later. So before we can make words, we need to know how to put pieces of words together. There are a few different ways to do this. So there are isolating languages like Tokipona, which just have each piece of a word be an independent little unit. Chinese is another example of this. These words don't combine at all. Each of these is a separate little thing. They're not reducible. You can't say that we means something and ke means something else and they're put together. It's just weka. That means omit needless words, incidentally. On the other hand, there's synthetic languages, like German, which can stack a lot of pieces together. For example, there is the Rindfleischetikettierungsüberwachungsaufgabenübertragungsgesetz. This is a real law. According to Wikipedia, the person who introduced this to Parliament apologized when he wrote it. And for those of you who don't speak German, like me, that means the Beef Labeling Supervision Duty Assignment Law. And no, I don't know what that means, but that's what Wikipedia says. So within synthetic, there are a couple sort of subcategorizes. There's two ways, more or less, that you can put pieces together. Each piece can either do its own little thing, like in Turkish, or you can overload them to do more than one thing, like in Spanish. The Turkish example, that's kırdım. The kir means break, which is the root, sorry, it's the root part of break. The actual verb is kırdım. But